we're at the halfway mark of our program. And next up is, and it's on your screen, I'm finally going to show an actual book, which I should have been doing all along, The Missed Connection by Tia Williams. So it's coming out in June, on June 16th, I think, from Brand Central. Our heroine in this book, Sasha Cruz, is a casting agent who doesn't do relationships until she meets a mysterious stranger on a flight. I don't know if that's ever happened to me, but maybe that's because I try to bury my nose in a book. But they part before the two can exchange contact info, which I almost said phone number, but I guess that's not done anymore either. Don't you love a catch me if you can romance? Which I do. Tia is, or rom-com, not romance. Tia is also the New York Times bestselling author of 7 Days in June, which is a Reese pick, and The Perfect Find, which is now a Netflix film starring Gabrielle Union. Her NAACP Image Award nominated bestseller, A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, was named one of the year's best romances by the New York Times and Amazon. Karen Kosztolnyik is VP Editorial Director at Grand Central Publishing, overseeing the fiction program, and is editor of this book. Really exciting. And one more time, The Missing Connection. So come up to the stage.
Thank you so much, Lee. Tia,
Hi.
it's great to see you.
Great to see you.
So excited to talk to you about this novel. It is fantastic. And Lee, thank you so much for that introduction for it. Every time I tell people about the pitch for this novel, they always say, I need to read this book right now. And one of the things that she doesn't mention in that pitch is, and then I think it's also just so great about it, is that the fact that they meet on this plane, they don't exchange contact information. And so she goes, and here's some person who never takes risks. She knows exactly what she wants to do in her life with this character, Sasha. And then she goes and emails her best friend, or thinks she emails her best friend to help her track this guy down. And then she ends up accidentally emailing the entire global company that she's trying to find this guy. And that kind of sends her into a tailspin, no pun intended. And
Haven't we all
then
been there?
right? And then she ends up hiring this private investigator to make things even more complicated in her life. So it's just such a delicious premise. And I'd love to know what inspires you to come up with this awesome story idea.
Thank you for that introduction. So I was struggling for what to write next after Ricky Wilde. I was like, what? My first 3 or 4 books were all sort of taken from a kernel of my personal love life, I guess. And after a while, you run out of personalities, like you run out of anecdotes to sort of make a book out of. And you really, I really have to come up with something totally from scratch. And my friend, out of the clear blue, texted me and was like, something crazy just happened at my job. And I think this might be your next book. And so something very similar happened. This woman totally fell in love with the guy she was sitting next to on the plane, and she wasn't sure if he worked for her company or not. And so she emailed HR and accidentally emailed the whole global company. And then people all over the world were looking for this guy for her. So that's where the idea came from.
It's so good. I imagine you must have done some really fun research for this novel just to write it. And was there anything sort of like fun or thought provoking that came up in your research when you were writing this? And no spoilers if you can't help it.
Yeah, well, a ton. I found out a lot of interesting things. So, first of all, this is like a very different kind of novel than I've ever written. I'm a romance author, but each time I try to like dip my toe into a different aspect of romance. Last time with A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, I sprinkled in some magical realism. Before that, I had some with 7 Days in June. I kind of had some social realism in there. And this time I wanted to do like a straight up catch me if you can romp, like just a summer romp. And so I have this sort of detective story in the middle of it because she's trying obviously to chase down this guy she sat next to and decided she was in love with. So she hires a detective and they try to find him, as people all over the world are looking for him too. And what I don't know how to do is write a detective story. So I interviewed a few big deal detectives who work with sort of high profile clients. So I got to learn a lot about human nature. A lot about, how am I going to talk about this without spoilers? The secrets that people kind of keep, that live among us, that you would never suspect. Also, my main character, Sasha, is a high functioning goofball, which is an aspect that I have very intimate knowledge of, because I too am a high functioning goofball and have been attracted to so many of those kind of characters, like from movies and TV. Growing up, I loved Diane from Cheers. I loved Whitley Gilbert on A Different World. I loved Goldie Hawn and Private Benjamin. Like, I love these women that are obviously very intelligent, but don't take themselves seriously and fumble a lot, or have, sort of like a quirky eccentricity to them. And Sasha, one of the things she's really into is obscure history podcasts. And so, as am I. And she was listening to a podcast about the history of neurology and found out that your brain always sees your nose, but it filters it out so that you're able to take in other information and you're not overstimulated all the time by seeing your nose. And I found that quote, and then I kind of felt like it's also a theme of the book too, that there's something that's right before her, right in front of her, that she never really realizes is a part of her, without spoiling too much.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really loved.
I love that so much.